Hello and welcome. You're watching a very special episode of The Social Network. Now, of course, as the world goes more and more online and data is really there for everyone to share and access, the topic of privacy of data and how to manage it and how to secure it is becoming more and more significant. The government of India today has come out with a new cybersecurity policy 2013, which we have a copy of, and that's what we're going to be talking about on The Social Network today. We're going to decode that policy for all our viewers. And we've got with us the man who has spearheaded that policy. We're going to be introducing him in just a bit. But our topic today is the Paranoid Survive, Decoding Cyber Security Policy 2013. That's what we're going to be talking about the Social Network today. If you've got any questions for Mr. Rai or any other questions about this policy, you can tweet us live at TSN on NDTV. That's at TSN on NDTV. That's our Twitter handle. But let's quickly introduce our panelists on the show today. We've got with us Mr. Gulshan Rai, who's the Director General from the Ministry of IT and Communications. Sir, a very, very big thank you for coming here today. And we're also joined in the studio by Saket Modi. He's the CEO and co-founder of Lucideus Tech. We're also joined by Chinmay Arun, who's the Professor of National Law University from Delhi. And both of them have many, many, many questions to ask Mr. Rai. So let's not waste any time. Start straight away. So, we've had a look at some of the jargon on this paper, and a lot of it, I have to tell you, is jargon. It's very, very difficult to understand a lot of this stuff. You're, of course, somebody who's written it. I'm going to come back to you in just a quick minute, but you've had a look, Saket, at this cybersecurity policy. What are the first three things that jumped out at you?
Well, first three things, I would say the first thing that jumped out of me, now this policy of course is very beautifully crafted, and I'll be very politically correct because I'll be speaking that on the national thing. But sir, my question first is that, sir, this is a policy for me which is making more policies. I don't see any concrete steps or measures. Sir, I'm sure you will agree when I say this, that we are sitting on a cyber warfare where we are in the middle of a crisis where our country's infrastructure, cyber infrastructure, needs the right security policies. This of course is an attempt from the government which takes us a step towards securing ourselves, but my question is, why not a concrete step? When you go through the policies, it only says that we suggest these things should be implemented, and these laws should come in the near future. Why not any concrete steps? So this needs to be done now.
Thank you. You see, let me go the genesis of this policy, explain it to you. We have the cyberspace, which is the interconnected world, is getting more and more complex. New devices, new equipment, new softwares are coming and joining there. We have 950 million phones, and out of 950 million phones, your percentage of smartphone is around 20% and is bound to increase. A smartphone is a full computer, full laptop system. Any software, younger generation, of course, a person of my generation will download a very conservative downloading the software. But a younger generation like you people will download any apps and any kind of things without even scrutinizing what is there in the apps, whether it is a malicious app or a genuine app. All kind of softwares are downloaded there. Now, securing such an environment is a complex task there. And those action of securing the cyberspace cut across various domains. You have a power sector, critical sector, home user sector there, professional sector there.
I think what Saket's question essentially is, he's saying that it seems to many of us who've looked through this policy, that while it's a policy that attempts at securing national assets, but it doesn't really talk about concrete steps.
I'm explaining. Okay. I think there is a confusion of what is the policy. He's talking about the implementation plan. Policy is normally a intent of the government. So I'm explaining to you, there are actions on a discrete basis all already there on the field. So many actions are there. I can explain those actions also there. But you have to put in such a complex environment, you have to integrate those actions there. So the government has put forward a policy which goes for a longer period. Based on this policy, there's a government said intent, they will do that. Based on the intent, the government will make out the implementation plan. Some of them is already functioning there. So what his issues are, their implementation. The policy has come, government has announced the intent, and the actions will follow. Some of the actions are already there. I can explain that, and some of the action need to be followed up, which will come as a thereafter now.
Right. So I just want to pick up, in fact, objective number 5 from that policy, which says to enhance the protection and resilience of nation's critical information infrastructure by operating a 24/7 National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center and mandating security practices related to the design, acquisition, development, use and operation of information resources. So what does this really mean?
This means that there will be a organization, NCIIPC, which will set up a center for 24/7, operation 24/7. They will look at the various malicious activity which may happen to any critical sector there. The government today, that organization doesn't exist.
So you're saying this is essentially for protection of government assets, national
This is a protection of the critical information infrastructure. There are 17 sectors have been identified as a critical sector. Banking is a sector, power is a sector, atomic energy is a sector, space is a sector, air traffic controller is a sector.
What does that mean to you?
Those 17 sectors are there which are identified which are critical to the economical stability of the country.
All right, fair enough. Saket, what does that mean to you?
So what my question is, sir, of course, sir, you're at the top of the security when you talk about that, and you pointed out a very fine point when said that, you know, there's a very big generation gap, Saket, when you talk about your generation and my generation, which is taking care of security. So my question is, sir, so that you have a body called CERTIN, of course, and now, sir, out there, of course, the average age out there again is at a greater scale, maybe, you know, between 30 to 40. That's the average age I'm talking about. Now, when we talk about the attacks which are taking place across the globe, sir, and the hacker revolution that's going on, we know the anonymous group and a lot of groups which are active in a similar way. So my question is, out there you have attacks which are taking place. The average age of an attacker is between 15 and 25.
How does this policy envisage basically protecting the systems, the national assets, for example, from hackers across the world?
See, you read out one action of NCIIPC.
Yeah.
That is a intent of the government that we will set up a center which will look at the protection of the critical information infrastructure. This will be drawn into implementation plan there. Already there is an Information Technology Act, the Section 70A already has been executed that provides the powers for setting up such a center there. The government is the intent, but Act has already provided. That's why some of the actions are happening in a discrete manner there.
So my only
discrete
question,
manner there.
my
No, this is a comprehensive so that everybody knows. So set up an ecosystem for entire security
my question
system.
was a little different. My question was that, sir, with the cutting edge hacking that is happening from let's take an average age, a 20-year-old guy, and you have a panel only compromising of people who are more than 40 years of age. How do you think that you even understand? You already pointed that out. How do we understand
Saket,
that you understand what
Saket,
advanced persistent threats are? What are the most recent and the most advanced payloads which are
Saket,
there?
this is your understanding. This is your understanding. I don't think you have visited CERT or any other organization there. We have people. We have about 100 people there.
Yes,
of
yes,
course,
I am aware of
we
this.
require more people also.
Right, of course.
As it goes up, we started with 10 people, now we have 100 people there.
Right.
You know, I am the oldest person. The people who are in the age bracket of 40, there are only 6.
Okay.
Rest of the people are starting from 22. We have picked 50 people, 55 people fresh from the college last year.
Okay. Now,
from the college last year.
I love this point, sir. Excellent. Which, sir, when you talk about colleges,
no, I'm explaining
am I talking about computer science engineers?
No. I mean, yes, absolutely. We don't take anybody else who have a background of engineering, computer engineering or electronics engineering. We take that. See,
sir, that's my point. Now, sir, my point is that when you talk about computer science engineers, sir, it's engineering that they are taught. They're not taught security. Security is more about reverse engineering, which is still not taught at the top IIT.
All right. Saket, so we'll have to hope that there will be younger and younger people. Mr. Rai is obviously promising us that there will be younger and younger people. They do need that. But you know, one of the biggest international stories worldwide is, of course, that story of the former NSA contractor and whistleblower Edward Snowden, who after several weeks in the run is currently haplessly searching for asylum in some country, being a fugitive from the United States, for blowing the lid on how America has been accessing user data without consent. Let's quickly take a look on what his take on surveillance is, and then get Mr. Rai back to respond to how the cybersecurity policy actually deals with that.
Why should people care about surveillance?
Because even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded, and the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude, to where it's getting to the point you don't have to have done anything wrong. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call, and then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
Chinmay, your question to Mr. Rai.
Sir, I was very happy to see that this was an inclusive process to the extent of involving industry and understanding what the ground reality is like. But what I was wondering about was why there wasn't a greater involvement of academics and of human rights organizations in the formulation of this policy. And I ask, well, I'm not sure whether you're the right person to ask my question to, but since you're here, I'm asking. I ask also because when I read the policy, I notice that the bent takes care of quite a lot of industry concerns. So it has a lot of incentives, but not a lot of punishments. It mentions privacy in one place, but there isn't a great focus so much on individual privacy really, although there is on markets. So I'm just wondering whether you see the possibility of more engagement with the IITs, with law universities, with human rights NGOs to embed their priorities also.
Chinmay, thanks, you have asked me this question there. In fact, we have been on this exercise of framing policy for last 2 years. We made 1 version, 2 version, 3 version. All the 3 versions were on the websites there. And we got comments internationally. Internationally we got comments. We got comments from a lot of academic community there. Today when we were launching the policy there, the 3 academics from IIT, IISc, they were there on the panel there. They steered the entire discussion. In fact, today in a release a function. The academia was the first one to be consulted. Academia was a part and parcel of the group which helped in framing the policy. See, innovation has to come from academia. The techniques has to come academia. Today academia is much more integrated into any such activity take place there, and cybersecurity is an aspect of innovation. Every day you see, every moment you see new innovation comes up, so there is no question of taking away the academia. Academia is an integral part of it. We have consulted academia, and certainly is a part and parcel of policy consult academia.
I know you have a question. I'm going to let you come back to that in just a bit. So I have a question now. Your minister has in fact tweeted saying the cyber policy will also look into the mandatory hosting of Indian client data on Indian servers by foreign companies like Twitter. This could secure individual privacy as well as protect corporate data and India's strategic virtual assets from unlawful snooping. What exactly does that mean, sir?
No, it means that you will, there will be, we'll have to promote, we'll have to create awareness. What are the pitfalls of putting your data outside the country, outside servers? And I as a part of the CERT get almost number of cases per day. Somebody account is hacked, he is not able to retrieve data. When we go and talk to those email services or social networking sites, they say, look, we as the law come to the court there. That normal reply gets said. So the people, if you have an account in any of this email service provider abroad, you find difficult to retrieve your data genuinely also. They ask so many questions to you. So it's a more creation of awareness that what are the pitfalls of putting your data outside there, what security risk can be there. While I was coming from here, I got a call from a lawyer who is in Supreme Court. He said he had an account in so-and-so account, he is not able to, the account is not able to change the password, he is not able to open the account there. Certainly the account was hacked there. No, he has been using that email account for the professional work.
Right.
So he is at loss tomorrow what to do in the court there, because he is asking client to send the information through the email, what to do. So we'll have to create awareness, we'll tell them what are the pitfalls there.
All right, so some of the reactions that we're getting on our Twitter feed right now, many people are asking the question about the fact that government needs to take civil society consensus and take it into confidence for the cyber security policy, and we're going to let you respond to that in just a bit, but first we'll slip into a short break on the social network.
Which I see reflected quite substantially in this policy. And so the reason I asked Mr. Rai that question was that I was for one quite upset that only industry and government were involved in that thinking process, because I feel like you need to involve people who have different priorities so that whatever sort of core document comes out reflects all of those priorities to a greater degree. But my data protection question is essentially that right through this policy, and this is why I have an objection to too strong an industry involvement, I see a lot of incentives and subsidizing and all of that, but I don't see any consequences. So I don't see any contemplation of the idea that if anyone is flagrantly negligent with user data, that they will get punished. And I was thinking that that should be part of a policy as well, not immediately, but...
No, Chinma, I think you raised two issues there. So let me clarify. The public-private partnership joint working group you are talking about it, the purpose of the working group is to give input to the government to create a partnership in public and private, and that is the intent itself is the industry there. Now that the group is not dictating the policy, they are only giving it. This policy, we have been on the job for last 2 years. In fact, lot of things came in the JWG, not that reverse, it came from the policy to that, because the policy was finalized by the time, and many approvals of the government at different levels were there on the policy there. It's now only announced that cabinet has approved on 8th of May 2013. You know, it takes couple of months process to get approval, consultation process within the government to that. So the policy has been there. So the job of the JW working group is to bring synergy between public and private sector and the government. Academia was already consulted when we were making a policy.
I think basically what Chinmay's question is that, you know, while it says that, you know, there are going to be several groups that are going to be consulted in terms of data, etc., but it doesn't talk about, Chinmay, if I understand correctly, it doesn't talk about what you're going to do if there is an excess amount of data that's given out. Is that what you're asking?
No, I think I'm asking why it's such a self-regulatory policy and it's completely focused on incentives.
But there's no penalization.
The policy doesn't give a penalization. What she talked about the data security, data breaches, there are sections in the Information Technology Act for Section 43A and Section 72A provide the enough safeguards. Section 43A, that's the only section in the Indian Act which is not available elsewhere in the world. Section 43A provides that the body corporates will have to implement best security practices to protect the data which they acquire during providing services there. So if there is a leakage of a data, the victim can get compensation commensurate to the damage the victim suffers. They get, it's a civil kind of act, you get liability, the service provider has a liability, they pay damages.
Okay.
Section 72 provide the criminal liability, 3 years imprisonment.
I just want to ask you one, you know, we're really running out of time, so I just want to ask you one question. You know, it's a new cybersecurity policy 2013, everybody knows that we need protection on the net. What is the takeaway from this policy? Yeah. In your own words, what's the takeaway?
Yeah, no, government has...
Aside from saying that yes, we need to secure the cyberspace, right, what's the real takeaway from it?
No, takeaway is that...
For the Aam Janta.
Aam Janta, so many actions have already been taken.
So let's take an example of one.
I will tell you. First of all, Janta, I will tell you, Aam Janta.
So really quickly, because we have only 10 seconds.
We have set up a site, secureyourpc.in. It gives every detail how to secure your PC, your laptop, your mobile phone is available. We have 1 lakh hits per day on that site there. Then we have worked with the industry there. You sell a mobile phone, you sell any electronics item there is a manual there. Today,
Saket, I want to ask him one quick question before
let me explain.
One quick question, Saket.
So again, when you talk about, this is all about the history, geography stuff which is there on papers. I'm talking about the more real threats on the more real servers, on the more real websites, and on the more real data which is there online, which is not only the fault of the user through which it goes out. I'm talking about the servers, the vulnerability existing out there. What about addressing them, and how
in this policy there are 2 sections there which says we will expand the national watch and warning alert system there, which they will study the advanced persistent threat. Okay. Then there is a NCIIPC, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, which you look at the critical sector in a
so,
focused manner.
So I think
These two answers are given by that.
basically going round and round in a lot of jargon and abbreviations are given on this piece of paper, sir. But unfortunately, I certainly haven't walked away from much on the cybersecurity of 2013 policy. But I'm going to quote you and say that he's also saying that all the details and the devil will perhaps lie in that detail in the implementation. And Mr. Rai, we're going to be very, very closely watching your ministry in how they plan to implement it, as Shripal Gandhi has written in, that there is a need for a cyber security policy, but we cannot allow the government to make it a cyber bullying policy, and the social network is certainly going to track that very, very closely. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Come back tomorrow, same time on the social network.
I am prepared to come once again.